Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Sunday, the 13th of April, 2025. And yesterday we published our regular weekly financial update. Gold and silver rose substantially last week, particularly gold in real terms, but silver in percentage terms. Gold hitting, once again, all-time highs and closing very close to that all-time high. With what's been happening in the Middle East and the tariff war with China, we may very well expect to see gold continue its rise this week. To find out what we believe is going to happen, you'd better hang on in there and take a look. Okay, gold rose $200. Yes, $200 last week, rising from $3,040 to $3,240. Having been as high as $3,247 and as low as $2,958, a rise of 6.5%. Gold spread between high and low was almost twice that of the week before, and it was high then. A very sizable $289. Last week we predicted gold would trade between $2,950 and $3,125. We were right on the low end of the scale and correct up until Friday, whereupon gold continued its upward trajectory, and we'll explain why shortly, closing just $7 off its high for the week, which is also its all-time high. In sterling terms, gold was up £115, closing at £2,481. And in euros, gold rose €80, closing at €2,856. Silver rose 2.6%. rising from $29.69 to $32.29, having hit a momentary high of $33.32. That happened on Friday. Bit of a glitch in some respects. And it reached a low earlier in the week of $28.58. So overall, a rise of 8.7%. The difference between its high and low was an impressive $4.74. Last week, we predicted silver would trade between $27.50 and $31, and again, until Friday, we would have been spot on the money until Trump delayed the tariffs on Wednesday, and then there was major retaliation from China, both on Wednesday, Thursday, and then again on Friday. In sterling terms, silver rose £1.75, closing at 24.74, and in euros it closed at 28.48 euros. That's up 1.44 euros. It's important to note that gold rose much higher than the previous week's fall, but silver did not achieve the same. The gold to silver ratio fell, however, from 102.4 to 1 to 100.3 to 1. Now, before we advance further, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe. During these turbulent times, we really need to reach more people, as there are likely to be some extremely wide swings ahead. Bitcoin, as of Friday night, stood at $83,400. That's up $400. It's been as high as $84,000 and as low as just above $74,000. US equities were high, but did actually dip lower earlier in the week. The Dow Jones closed at 40,212. That's up 1,898. The S&P was up 289 at 5,363, and the Nasdaq Composite was up 1,137 at 16,724. These rises, however, did not make up for the previous week's falls. The FTSE 100 index, though, was down 90 points at 7,964. Oils were marginally lower. Brent crude closed down 82 cents at $64.76, and WTI crude closed down 49 cents at $61.50. The dollar took a hit. It was down 3 points, the index, at 100.1. Now, looking at last week's economic data, consumer credit for March fell from 8.8 billion to minus 0.81 billion. The FOMC minutes revealed on Wednesday indicated that the economy in March was already showing some signs of stagflation-type conditions, with higher inflation and slower growth under discussion. Thursday's CPI data for March, the year-over-year rate, was anticipated to fall from 2.8% to 2.5%, but it actually fell to 2.4%, and the core year-over-year rate was expected to fall from 3.1 to 3, but it did indeed fall to 2.8, which was greater than we had anticipated. Friday's core PPI figures for March showed the year-over-year figures decreasing from 3.5 to 3.4%. So good news on the inflation front, at least for now. This coming week, we have really only Wednesday to watch out for, where the US retail sales are being announced. Markets are expecting a rise from 0.2% reported in February to 1.2% for March. Excluding automobiles, the figures are expected to rise from 0.3% to 0.4%. Really, that is the only noteworthy piece of economic data being announced by the US next week, and so once again, geopolitical and tariff news will dominate. So, on Friday, gold surged to a new record high, breaking multiple trend channels and forming bullish candlestick patterns that signal potential continuation towards the $3,300 level. Gold achieved 3 consecutive days of gains. Now, the fall in the US dollar had a dramatic effect on prices, and safe haven demand for gold continued to rise. We saw gold whipsawing last week, falling until Wednesday, at which time Trump announced a 90-day suspension of reciprocal tariffs. This caused the S&P to surge 9.5%, posting its third largest gain since 1940. However, China then raised tariffs on US imports, first to 84% and then to 125% on Friday. This uncertainty has had an impact on the US dollar and consequently precious metal prices. Silver did well last week, but nowhere near made up the ground it lost the previous week. Most analysts believe that silver will, at least very short term, continue to lag gold, especially while fears of a potential recession looms in the background. That said, silver has the potential to hit around 33.20 next week, but could also fall back to around 31.45. At least this is what the chartists are forecasting. We believe the spread could be a little greater. Now, just a reminder, 6 months ago we produced a video entitled "Will Trump's Tariffs Hurt Americans? The Truth Revealed." We had then a risable 379 views, though after last week's video, where we promoted it, it has risen to 395. Not particularly great, but an improvement nevertheless. We've placed a link for those interested in the comments section below. So, we could still continue to see precious metal rises again this coming week, and perhaps especially on Monday. Our forecast for gold ranges, therefore, from $3,125 to $3,300, with $3,100 to $3,350 as outliers. Silver we expect to trade between $30.50 and $33.50, with $30 to $34 as outliers. What do you think? Please do share your thoughts. Meanwhile, thank you so much for listening. We'd appreciate it if you'd give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, press the bell sign. Pop on over to our sister channel, Finances Do Matter, link below in the description box and comment section. And all that remains, once again, is that you have an enjoyable remainder of the weekend and a prosperous week ahead.